A lot of folks who are new to programming really agonize over the question of what programming language they should learn. I think that when people ask this question, it's a totally fair question to ask. I mean, I asked it when I was a new programmer. People wrongly think that the language they learn, that first language, is more consequential than it really is. The truth is, when you learn a programming language, it's not like you are committing to a single choice that shuts down all the other potential choices you make. It's not like learning Python or C is going to prevent you from learning those other languages. This is in part because Python and C and Java and C++, all these languages are a lot more similar than they are different because they all derived from C for the most part. They're C-like languages, and so they have a lot of features in common with those languages. Now, I don't want to give the impression that C-like languages are the only languages that exist. There are quite a few languages that are very radically different from C, and I would say there's a lot of utility in learning those languages because they force you to look at programming problems in a different way. But for the most part, the most popular languages are C-like. You'll see as you progress in your career as a programmer that you will probably pick up a dozen or so languages, maybe even more. You're going to be exposed to a lot of different languages, and it's important to realize that languages are really tools, and some languages make sense in certain occasions and some languages make sense in other occasions. You use JavaScript when you code stuff for the browser. You use C and C++ or Rust when you code stuff, when you do systems programming, when you're coding stuff that's closer to the metal, to the actual hardware. You use Java when you want your memory managed and taken care of for you. You use, Python when you want to do scripting or pre-processing or machine learning or data science stuff. Okay. So in terms of recommendations, in terms of what language you should learn, I'd recommend Python, Java, or C++ because those are the languages that are most likely to be taught in CS curriculums. I think that those languages are great beginner languages, but they're also obviously robust enough to support professional-grade software, enterprise-grade software. Like there's some really impressive software that's written in either of those languages. So, I mean, you can carry that knowledge with you for the foreseeable future. But yeah, those are all great languages. Don't agonize over the question of what language you should start off with. If there's one caveat I would provide is that it's arguably easier or less painful to go from C or C++ to Python rather than the other way around because Python abstracts a lot of things away from the programmer. It takes care of a lot of stuff for you. It's not a toy language. It's not a pet language. It's a very versatile, very powerful programming language. But it does sort of take care of things that I think C and C++ doesn't take care of. Things that you have to be responsible for. Things like memory management. And there is some value to knowing that stuff, I think, as a programmer. So, and only that, C++ and C and languages like it are a lot more verbose than Python. Python's really kind of a terse language, and syntactically it's kind of easier to grasp. It's more like natural language, I think, than C or C++ or even Java. In some ways it's kind of painful pivoting from like the cleanliness and the seeming simplicity of a Python to the verbosity of a Java or C++ or C. But in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter. I really wouldn't spend that much time worrying about it. So those are my thoughts, and I hope this was helpful to somebody.